A line was crossed in Chicago this weekend that should terrify every American. When anarchists surrounded federal law enforcement officers when agents called 911 begging for backup, the unthinkable happened. Chicago police were ordered to stand down, not delayed, not diverted, ordered to abandon fellow officers who are under attack. The audio exists. The proof is undeniable. What you're about to hear isn't just shocking, it's absolutely criminal. See, this is what happens when politicians put illegal aliens above the rule of law, when ideology trumps officer safety, when a city's leadership declares war on its own country. The recordings will chill you to the bone, so keep on watching. Now, Medicare is confusing by design. Endless mailers, fine print, and pushy sales calls. That's why most seniors end up on the wrong plan without even knowing it, and it's costing them thousands of dollars every year, and that's where Chapter comes in. Chapter makes Medicare simple. In less than 20 minutes, they'll compare every single plan available, over 24,000 nationwide, and help you find the one that fits you. On average, seniors who work with Chapter save $1,100 a year, and here's what makes them different. Chapter's advisors are independent. They're salaried, not paid commission to steer you into certain plans. That means they actually work for you, not the insurance companies. The call's completely free, and if you're already on the right plan, they will tell you. No pressure, just peace of mind. But here's the thing, the annual enrollment period is here, and that means right now is the time to make sure you are not overpaying or stuck in the wrong plan for another year. So don't wait. Call Chapter today. That number on the screen is 910-728-4109. Again, that's 910-728-4109. You can also visit askchapter.org/next. But the fastest way is to pick up the phone and give them a call at 910-728-4109. And we thank Chapter for sponsoring this program. So lots to unpack from the weekend. Secretary Noem posting this just 72 hours ago. My team and I were just blocked from accessing the Village of Broadview Municipal Building in Illinois. We were stopping for a quick bathroom break. This is a public building. The Village of Broadview receives at least $1 million in federal funding every year. This is how J.B. Pritzker and his cronies treat our law enforcement. Absolutely shameful. Look at this.
Use your restrooms. Will you use your restrooms? You cannot.
We can? Okay. All right. Thank you. Interesting. That's what Governor Pritzker says is cooperation in keeping people safe.
Wow.
So why wouldn't they let you in? What's been going on here? What's been going on here, Secretary?
We were coming to go out and do some operations to pick up some guys with criminal convictions on them, and the city police wouldn't even let us use a restroom.
And you were just blocked by a worker here from the city?
A worker at the municipal building here in Broadmoor would not allow us to go in and to use a restroom at the police station. So as much as these local leaders and governors talk about cooperating and having the backs of our law enforcement officers, this is what we have to put up with every single day. And all we're doing is getting criminals and terrorists and cartels and gang members off the streets to make families safer here. It's ridiculous.
Wow. Can't even use the bathroom. Illinois Review reporting 48 hours ago, President Trump is going to federalize 300 Illinois National Guard members and deploy them to Chicago. Pritzker angrily announced on Saturday. FBI Director Kash Patel, 24 hours ago, the FBI just arrested 2 individuals who were allegedly driving vehicles and attacking our federal law enforcement officers. They've been charged for assaulting federal officers with a deadly or dangerous weapon. Attack our law enforcement, and this FBI will find you. This is the video that triggered the stand-down order by Chicago police. This is the video where Miramar Martinez, a.k.a. Lil La Maggie, rammed a white DHS vehicle who had their emergency lights on. Another DHS black USV then attempts to ram them. So there's the hit. That is La Maggie, I guess, allegedly. Wow. Just ramming the car. Unbelievable. These people are just out of their minds. This is Chicago. This is what kicked it all off, I believe. Oh, my goodness. And then that's the second DHS vehicle blocking them in. This is madness. And then they try to drive off. Dude, this is out of control. You can see the flashing lights. Let's see if there's audio on this. No, there's just music. You could see the truck blocking, agents standing. Holy cow. So the SUV went off-road, got stuck in a construction zone. ICE agents, federal agents, fully loaded, fully armed, working to push back any spectators. But apparently this whole situation just spirals out of control. Now, I think we have the audio for this. Let's see if we can track that real quick. CBS. Okay, so is this it? ICE trying to incite violence? No, that's not it. Let's see. Where's the audio track? Oh, this is the actual image. You can see it on your screen. This has been circulating. You may have seen this. No units will respond to this. Chicago police tells officers no units will respond as protesters surround federal agents. That is a screenshot of the police computer inside one of the squad cars. Pritzker freaking out. Do we have the audio? Where is the audio? I want to get to that right away. This must be dispatch audio. Here we go.
Any kind of particular hairstyle? Okay. Any kind of particular hairstyle? Just younger male Hispanic on foot wearing all black?
No hairstyle.
Okay. 10-4. And one is for the hit and run. This guy fled from the scene at 37th Place in Kedzie. It all started at I-55 in Kedzie. Then they fled southbound at Kedzie, where that offending vehicle crashed. They ran the federal agent off the road. They fled on foot westbound 37th Place from Kedzie. It was a male Hispanic younger wearing all black clothing. 99.
Yeah, send the cars in that direction. Have them stay put 2 or 3 blocks away, all right? Have them hold tight until I give you further direction, please.
Okay, 10-4. And for the units responding to 39th Place in Kedzie per 999, if you guys can just, for the units responding to 39th Place in Kedzie, if you guys can start heading there as quick as you can, and then just hold tight for instructions with 999.
999.
999.
For the chief of patrol, clear everybody up. We're not responding over there.
Radio check. And again, per the chief of patrol, we have all the units that, per 999, chief of patrol said all units clear out from there. We're not sending anybody over to that location.
62, we're going to clear out as soon as we can, Spot. We're like locked in over here, so we're going to do the best we can to get out of here as soon as we can.
Oh my God.
Okay. Any kind of particular hairstyle, just younger male Hispanic on foot wearing all black?
Oh my God! They let him hang out to.
Okay. 10-4.
They let him hang out to dry. 5 hours ago, Chicago police say that blocking police is illegal, and yet Democrats are telling people to do it.
Federal agents, ICE, HSI, are officers. They are agents of law enforcement. If you box them in with vehicles, it is reasonable for them to believe that they are being ambushed and that this could end in a deadly situation. And it's reasonable for them to use force based on those conditions. Do not box in any law enforcement officer. You are breaking the law when you do that. And you are putting yourself in danger.
And that's what we saw.
Following law enforcement agents around. The question is why? What do you plan on doing? It's also reasonable for them to believe that you're eventually going to do harm to them. If you ram any vehicle, especially that one that contains law enforcement agents, and that's any law enforcement, local, state, federal, county, and you do this intentionally, this is considered deadly force. Deadly force is anything that can cause great bodily harm or death. When you plow into a vehicle that contains law enforcement agents, you're using deadly force.
Clearly, the Chicago police chief, superintendent, is pissed off. Pritzker, though, he doesn't care. He calls them Secretary Noam's thugs.
Their plan. I refuse to let Donald Trump, Kristi Noem, and Gregory Bovino continue on this march toward autocracy. Wow. Their plan all along has been to cause chaos, and then they can use that chaos to consolidate Donald Trump's power. They think they can fool us all into thinking that the way to get out of this crisis that they created is to give them free rein. Well, that plan will only work if we let it. The state of Illinois is going to use every lever at our disposal to resist this power grab and get Noam's thugs the hell out of Chicago.
Holy cow. He literally just called ICE agents thugs.
I'm not afraid. I am not afraid, and I won't back down.
The only thing you're afraid of, buddy, is an empty buffet. Here we have more from Illinois Governor Pritzker. Says it's illegal to call out the National Guard.
Well, let's be clear that it is illegal, in fact, to call out the National Guard or to send troops into American cities. The Posse Comitatus Act prohibits that. And yet they tried to do it in Oregon. They're going to try to do it here in Chicago.
Who's going to stop them?
Well, the courts. That's who's going to stop them. And that's what happened in Oregon. I assume that a court here will do the same thing. These are federal courts. By the way, the judge that made that decision in Oregon, a Trump-appointed judge. So even they recognize, the Trump-appointed judges, that Donald Trump has gone way beyond the Constitution, is violating law. Well, let's be clear that it is illegal, in fact, to call out the National Guard or to...
Now, what happens if that National Guard... Here, look at this. Here's Roger Stone's response. Except in time of national emergency, such as the emergency you have created on the ground in Chicago, responding directly to Governor Pritzker. Except in times of national emergency. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson announcing he signed an executive order creating ICE-free zones to ban ICE agents from staging for raids on illegal aliens and Antifa terrorists. Insurrection Act of 1807. Now, more National Guard, says A.J. Huber.
Raids. And today we are signing an executive order aimed at reining in this out-of-control administration. The order establishes ICE-free zones.
Unbelievable.
That means that city property and unwilling private businesses will no longer serve as staging grounds for these raids. And today we are signing an executive order.
ICE-free zones. That's absolutely insane. Gunther Eagleman writes, Pritzker's breaking a sweat from getting so worked up over the deportation operations happening in the city. He says he refuses to let DHS continue any deportation operations in his state. He writes, I hope that Bongino surges all operations in Chicago. All gas, no brakes.
Multiple apartments. So even though they documented the raid, their propaganda video conveniently left out important facts.
Oh, did it?
In the dead of night, and seemingly for the cameras, armed federal agents emerged from the Black Hawk helicopters, rappelling onto the roof of that apartment building.
Now, if you recall, we covered this last week. It was like 300 agents in a coordinated raid on an apartment building that contained Tren de Aragua gang members who were squatting in apartments.
According to media reports, the agents ransacked multiple apartments and detained almost everyone in the building, including U.S. citizens and children who had done nothing wrong. Witnesses told reporters that federal officers zip-tied the hands of people, including children and seniors. Some, including U.S. citizens, were detained in the back of vans for hours. Seemingly proud of this shameful treatment of innocent people, they recorded it, and Kristi Noem posted the video, bragging about the operation. Since we sat through that propaganda, I think it's important to hear directly from members of the community who experienced this takeover of the building.
Neighbors like Ebony Watson says they ducked for cover as they heard several flashbangs go off.
They was terrified. The kids was crying. People was screaming. They looked very distraught. I was out there crying when I seen the little girl come around the corner because they was bringing the kids out too. Had them zip tied to each other. That's all I kept asking. Where's the morality? Where's the human?
We actually we have the video he's referencing here. I just found it. She writes, Secretary Noem, Chicago, we are here for you.
Go, push! Get out of the way for the Bearcat! Clear the way for the Bearcat! But of course, Governor Pritzker is going to cherry pick the reactions from Chicago's residents. Here is President Trump confirming he has no problem invoking the Insurrection Act.
Reason over a weekend. What?
The Insurrection Act, under what conditions or terms would you?
Well, I do it if it was necessary. So far, it hasn't been necessary, but we have an Insurrection Act for a reason. If I had to enact it, I'd do that. If people were being killed and courts were holding us up, or governors or mayors were holding us up, sure, I'd do that. I mean, I want to make sure that people aren't killed. We have to make sure that our cities are safe over a weekend.
He has no problem invoking the Insurrection Act. Jelly Belly Pritzker, 9 hours ago, Illinois is taking the Trump administration to court for their unlawful and unconstitutional deployment of military troops in our state. Thank you, Illinois Attorney General Raoul, for helping defend the rule of law. Meanwhile, the Chicago Federation of Police President John Catanzara reveals the chief of patrol is notorious for lying, and reveals that CPD leadership is terrified of Mayor Brandon Johnson and Democrat politicians if they respond to ICE agents in distress. How freaking sad.
The computer could bring this to your attention, John, because there seems to be a discrepancy here, a 41-minute hole between the time that the call went out from CPD for assistance, from CBP to assistance from the Chicago Police Department to when, quote, additional units were rolled out there. We also have, and let's put this up, this is call for number 5 here. This is the computer-aided dispatch system. At the bottom of the screen, because the timeline increases as you go further up, a caller is one of approximately 30 armed Border Patrol agents who are being surrounded by a large crowd of people requesting CPD. A number of minutes later, at 12:34, Chief of Patrol, no units will respond to this. And then as we just heard from the superintendent, John, at 1:09, units were rolled. So could it be the units were told not to respond and then later were dispatched to respond.
Could it be? That's factually what happened. And the reality is somebody's lying here, whether it's the chief of patrol or Unit 999. And I could tell you, I personally know that lieutenant, and he has an impeccable record. On the other hand, the chief of patrol, not so much. He's been notorious for lying and stomping on anybody to get to where he's gotten to this point. Do I think he gave that order? Absolutely. And I think the lieutenant was just relaying what that phone call reiterated to him to not send anybody over there, because sadly this department is in literally a shell of itself and so fearful of what politicians and this mayor are going to do to them if they respond. Every single citizen, the sanctity of life is what this city supposedly cares about. That doesn't discriminate between civil law enforcement. If someone's calling for help, we are obligated to go. And this person should be taken out of his basically assignment right now, stripped of his police powers and removed from command. He has no business wearing a badge.
To bring this
about 10 vehicles, one of which had a
Sorry, Pritzker, Chicago police ordered not to help ICE. ICE under attack as Chicago tensions escalate. J.B. Pritzker is putting politics ahead of public safety.
Occurred after. We believe this comes from the top. It looks like J.B. Pritzker is putting politics ahead of public safety, ahead of our law enforcement, their safety. The facts on the ground are the fact that our law enforcement were being rammed by vehicles, about 10 vehicles, one of which had a semi-automatic firearm on her. She also had a history of trying to dox and encouraging the threatening of these agents. After this incident occurred, after this attack occurred, our law enforcement were then surrounded by a violent crowd who began to throw bottles and rocks at our agents. They called for backup from the local police department, but no, they wouldn't respond. In fact, our ICRO agents had to respond, who were later actually then attacked again with a vehicle as they were trying to respond. There's viral images of that going on across the internet. So we're seeing that more and more these violent activists are using their vehicles as a weapon, as a tactic against our law enforcement. J.B. Pritzker, though, our message to him, go walk your streets. Go see the violent crime against your constituents. Go see the violent crime against our own law enforcement, because he continues to go on CNN and MSNBC and whitewash the facts. He's saying that we're using racial profiling to go after people. That's absolutely not true. We are targeting criminals who have perpetuated very horrendous violence against the people of Chicago, and yet he continues to lie on air and say that we are arresting children, zip tying children. These are fake images that have continued to be debunked. J.B. Pritzker needs to get a spine. He needs to stand up for the people of Chicago, because if not, we will continue to flood the zone and surge federal resources to make sure the people of Chicago and the people of Illinois are safe again. We believe this comes from the top. It looks like...
Of course it comes from the top. All the way at the top. 30 people were shot in Chicago this weekend. Pritzker doing nothing about it. Black residents ripping at Mayor Johnson for blocking Trump and ICE from deporting illegal immigrants in Chicago. This was, I think, last summer. But they are still furious. Brandon Johnson doing nothing except ordering stand-downs. Let's see, do we have... here's Stephen Miller. This is just a couple hours ago, a gaggle outside the White House. Listen.
Lawful exercise. The struggle that's taking place right now is between the lawful exercise of power by the American people through a duly elected government versus the unlawful exercise of street violence in the form of domestic terrorism. So, again, the clearest example of this is when you have ICE officers who are carrying out the statutes and laws of the United States to arrest and remove illegal aliens who are being subjected to violent attacks in the conduct of their duties. That's an example of illegitimate violence, illegitimate power in the form of domestic terrorism being used to impede the conduct of their official duties. The answer to that in a civilized, modern, civilized society is to use legitimate state power, grand juries, subpoenas, arrest warrants, search warrants, and every other federal power at the disposal of the commander-in-chief to identify and find everybody who is trying to use the real and actual threat of violence to impede the conduct of these federal responsibilities and ensure that they're placed behind bars. I'm not going to give you any advanced information about what these investigations have yielded so far. The Joint Terrorism Task Force has the lead, but they have found that these campaigns, that's not, of course, only against ICE officers. There's also conversation we're having about the assassination of Charlie Kirk, the 2 attempted assassinations against President Trump, the assassination of the United Healthcare CEO, the attempted assassination of Justice Kavanaugh, which, of course, had an insane sentence of 8 years. So it's the broader spectrum of political violence. But obviously, ICE as an agency has been subjected to a 9-month effort to substitute left-wing violence for the votes of the American people. No federal officer in the conduct of their duties should have to worry about being physically attacked, being physically obstructed, being physically impeded, being doxxed, having a bounty put on them. And the fact that Democrat politicians are trying to normalize this really indicates how far we've gone as a society, that there is not universal condemnation of this organized campaign of violence against ICE officers. The struggle is taking place.
Oh, man. Stephen Miller wasn't done, though. He went on CNN, and there was a bizarre moment that took place. I think we've got it here. Yeah. A bizarre technical glitch hit CNN right as Stephen Miller was getting to the heart of a district judge ruling on National Guard deployment. Miller cut off mid-sentence, unable to finish his explanation. The host, Boris Sanchez, eventually cut in. Listen to this.
A few months ago with...
By the way, you've called the district judge's ruling blocking the deployment of National Guard in Oregon legal insurrection. Does the administration still plan to abide by that ruling?
Well, the administration filed an appeal this morning with the Ninth Circuit. I would note the administration won an identical case in the Ninth Circuit just a few months ago with respect to the federalizing of the California National Guard. Under Title 10 of the U.S. Code, the president has plenary authority.
Stephen?
What happens?
Stephen?
He just stops talking.
Hey, Stephen, can you hear me?
It's like everything went black on his side or something. It's weird.
It seemed, Stephen, I apologize. It seems like we're having a technical issue. We'll try to fix that.
And I'm sure it's a technical issue, right? I mean, it is CNN. Here's some more from that interview. Maybe they got the connection fixed, whatever.
Is it the case that, as Pritzker frames it, you are profiling brown people, that this immigration crackdown is designed to go after people of color?
It's such a, oh, what a dumb question. The illegal aliens who are here are taking jobs away from blacks, they're taking jobs away from whites, they're taking jobs away from Latinos, they're taking their health benefits away, they're taking their school slots away, and of course in many cases they're committing heinous crimes. We cannot have a system of law in this country that privileges illegal aliens over American citizens, and that's what they're doing. You know it, and I know it.
So that's not exactly a no, Stephen. Can you just unequivocally state that the immigration policy... I said it's a dumb question.
Okay.
Well, I appreciate that, but
it's a dumb question.
So no, this policy is not designed...
No, and it's a dumb question. In the press briefing room today, Levitt defends Trump's urban mission. National Guard working with local police in D.C., Memphis, and beyond. Results speak loud. Crime down, streets safer. Only Democrat mayors refuse help because they hate President Trump.
Justification for the Democrats have questioned and scrutinized the president's comments about using potentially the military, American cities, as training grounds for the military. And when you look at Portland, Chicago, local and state officials say that their local law enforcement is able to handle the situations, these protests on the ground. The president says that Portland is burning, using that as justification for the National Guard in Portland. But when you look here in Washington, D.C., the president just last week said it is now a completely safe city, and there are still National Guard members on the streets that are not involved in ICE activities. Can you provide the justification for the White House here in Washington, D.C., why the National Guard members continue to be out on the streets?
Because Washington, D.C. has invited the National Guard here. Why? Because
the mayor is doing the right thing, unlike mayors in other cities like Portland, as Caitlin and others have pointed out, who refuse to see that there are positive results from when local law enforcement works with federal law enforcement to do the right thing on behalf of their citizens. And Washington, D.C. is no doubt a safer city right now today than it was a few months ago when President Trump started this initiative to make D.C. safe again. And the National Guard is still here because the president and the mayor agree that it's a good thing for the city. Just like you're seeing in Memphis, for instance. We'll have National Guard deployed to Memphis. We have federal agents who are on the ground working with state and local law enforcement. The state police in Tennessee are part of this effort. The local metropolitan police in Memphis are part of this effort. State and local law enforcement and federal law enforcement should be working together. And it's a shame that we see in some cities across the country that their mayors are just simply refusing to cooperate because they don't like Donald Trump. And that's what this boils down to. And I don't think any American would disagree that Chicago needs more law enforcement reinforcements, that they need more resources. Look at this headline from over the weekend. At least 30 people shot during the weekend in Democrat-run Chicago. 5 of them were killed in one weekend. This is completely unacceptable, and the president wants to make American cities safer, and he's willing to work with anyone to do it.
Democrats have...
Wow. Here's more. National Guard help, not a takeover. Media smearing Trump is militarizing cities. Levitt snaps back.
Or the National Guard. If the courts allow you to ultimately send in the National Guard into Chicago and Portland, do Democrats not have reason to be concerned that there are long-term plans by this administration to keep U.S. military or the National Guard in American cities, like what we are seeing here in Washington?
Why should they be concerned about the federal government offering help to make their cities a safer place? They should be concerned about this. They should be concerned about the fact that people in their cities right now are being gunned down every single night. And the president, all he's trying to do is fix it. And there has been a complete smear campaign by the Democrats and the media, quite frankly. I was reading Political Playbook this morning, one of the most inside the Beltway newsletters you can find. And you guys are framing this like the president wants to take over the American cities with the military. The president wants to help these local leaders who have been completely ineffective in securing their own cities. And we have already seen there's a positive formula for that. Look at Washington, D.C. The murder rate has declined significantly. Our streets are safer. People who live here feel safer. All of you in this room, I know you do, you just won't admit it. And it's a proven system that works, and the president wants to make America's cities safe again. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
And there isn't anything wrong with it. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. So this is what insurrection looks like in 2025. Not with muskets and cannons, but with stand-down orders and political cowardice. When a city's leadership tells its police force to abandon federal officers under attack, they've crossed from politics into treason. I mean, think about what this means. Tomorrow, it could be FBI agents hunting child traffickers. Next week, DEA agents breaking up fentanyl rings. Any federal officer doing their job in Chicago is now a target without backup. Pritzker and Johnson have turned the Windy City into a sanctuary for criminals and a death trap for law enforcement. They've chosen sides, and it's not America's side. You see, this is bigger than immigration. This is about whether we're still one nation under law. So here's my question. Should federal officers be authorized to arrest any local official who orders police to abandon them? Let's have a conversation. Sound off below. Remember, if you want to support our mission here at the Next News Network, visit shop.nextnewsnetwork.com because there's gear there that shows you stand with law and order.